Rejoice, rejoice, children, for bureaucracy is over, and now there is only aftermath. Forgot to mute Twitch in the background just for my... I have several... oh, sorry. Hello, everyone. I have several monitors just to check what's going on. As a Discordian, of course, I have a healthy dose of paranoia, particularly where technical matters are concerned, and so I'm watching. It's like being in a weird hall of mirrors. But there we go. Okay, so yes, here we are. It is the special extra service that marks the beginning of Aftermath 2024. What a fortunate world we live in. We are blessed by the goddess with 5 seasons as opposed to the normal person's 4. And the seasons are not used just to mark the passing of weather from cold to hot and then back to cold again. It's not like that. It's weird, isn't it? When you think about it, it's like, it's cold. Oh, it's getting warmer. Oh, it's hot. Oh, it's getting colder. Oh, it's cold. You know, what I mean, yes, okay. If you're a farmer, it could be useful intelligence. Almanac, track the days and all that, but for the rest of us, not so much. It occurs to me that we are not exempt. We are not exempt in this one from this time of year. From this moment on, 23 is coming. Yes, we can see that it's just here. We've got a counter. It's counting down. So we will, of course, in the service, be observing 23. It's very important to observe 23, because if you don't observe 23, then 23 is going to get you. But before we proceed any further, it is, of course, of paramount importance that we move on to the disclaimer. All acts of Discordianism portrayed herein are for spiritual entertainment purposes only. No spiritual enlightenment or transcendent experience is offered or implied. Leaps of faith and logical backflips are performed by trained sophists. Do not attempt to recreate at home. Any resemblance to other religions, alive, dead, or merely untenable is entirely coincidental. Hail Eris and Immanentize the Eschatona brands of the Discordian Society. All associated intellectual property rights are probably also wrongs, just the way they are these days. Fnord. Okay, so that's the unpleasant business out of the way. Oh yeah, I always forget that. We should be looking at the order of service together on a screen which is big enough to cope with it. So yes, it's a shorter service today because we do not do a sacrament, because it is not Friday. I know that technically, wherever you watch the Friday service, it is Friday for the duration of the period, but that's because I do it on a Friday, and therefore I infuse the service with an indelible Friday-ness. I am doing this on a Sunday, and that's not to make anything big out of Sundays, for it is the 20th of Sunday, the 20th of Spooky Month, aka October, which is the 8th month. Well, that's what it translates to, but it is, of course, the 10th month. But we've all dealt with this before many times. The trauma, maybe the scar is poked at repeatedly, but we're not going to change the world. So the best thing to do is just ignore the fact that the month is called the 8th month when it's the 10th month, and just call it something else. It's just a month, and the month is Spooky Month, and it is the 20th day of Spooky Month. And Spooky Month will be followed by November, the 9th month, which is, of course, the 11th month, and December, which is the 10th month, which is, of course, the 12th month. And over the course of the next 73 days, we shall proceed through the 5th Discordian season, known as Aftermath. So we will be having a seasonal thought that will be coming up soon. The face of the season, I will explain more about that when we get there. It's very similar to Faces of Eris, but we see Eris enough, like once a week we see Eris, so we're going to see the face of the season in this seasonal service. We will be doing a seasonal tarot. I'm going to try something a bit different. We have some extra tarot cards here to make it up. I don't know how we're going to manage this. I could really do with a rostrum camera or something pointing at the tarot card, but it's not. It's reflective tarot, but for the season. We'll see how it goes. Kandar will follow, and then we will just close the service with probably a quick Hail Eris or whatever final sort of leaving the e-chapel thought. And of course, a reminder, as always, that this service will be transferred to YouTube after the broadcast in order that you may enjoy it asynchronously. If you are enjoying the service asynchronously, happy Aftermath to you. Hopefully you're enjoying it within the first few days of this year's Aftermath, just so that you can get your Aftermath vibes on. But if not, no worries. If you are on the YouTubes, of course, it helps if you subscribe, if you like the Discordian service. I have had some very wonderful comments so far, which makes me wonder if I'm on the right site, because YouTube comments do not have a reputation for the kindness and the enthusiasm that has been shown in the comments on previous Friday services. There will, of course, so this is the e-chapel of the SWDP, the South Wales Discordian Press, proudly not publishing any Discordian works, but being self-identifying as a publisher of Discordian works, not for profit. But we don't really believe in the written word, hence the services and so forth. So, because, who reads stuff now that isn't on a website and isn't like a multi-threaded flame war about some shenanigans some other YouTuber or celebrity is up to? Who does that? Only a crazy person. And there are none of those in here. Oh, yes. Of course, I should commence with my traditional greeting. Hello to you, brethren and sistren, those who don't like to be pigeonholed. All of you freaks, geeks, and each one of you totally unique, of course. So yes, the first section of tonight's service will be seasonal thoughts. Seasonal thoughts. So we have some seasonings here, and what are they thinking about? What are they thinking about today? This is. I feel like I'm a nature documentarian. They are, of course, thinking about aftermath. And here is an image, a copyright-free image of what the internet thinks an aftermath looks like. And it's not particularly... I mean, to me, I have an urge in the reconstruction on a property such as this to maybe work the damage into the design. So you have like a patio with some columns holding the roof up, and just make it sort of an architectural joke. Maybe put an extension on the other side to make up for the rooms that are lost. I don't know. This is what I would think. But I'm doing this because the seasonings, your rosemary, your turmeric, your nutmeg, your cinnamon, all of those things, they are confused. They think, is this what we've got to look forward to? Is this aftermath? Is this the wake of bureaucracy? And today's seasonal thoughts will dwell upon that matter. So of course we've just had bureaucracy. So here's a copyright-free, royalty-free image of what bureaucracy looks like. And honestly, maybe when we come to the first day of Bureaucracy 2025, I missed it. I wasn't doing services on the first day of Bureaucracy and hadn't really got into the calendar anyway until I started doing this. I don't even know how it came up, but I was pointed towards the page in the Principia where the calendar is. If you want to follow along with your Ready Reckoner and you haven't already received this message from myself, I think it's really interesting actually that when we start up a segment, the SWDP, this sub-organisation of the larger Discordian thing, we do find that we're trying to sort ourselves out. Sorry, wrong page. There we go. That's it, page 34. So yeah, opposite this chap, there is your Discordian calendar Ready Reckoner. We at the SWTP do not recommend that we stick slavishly to the word. Apart from anything else, we've also discussed here how the Principia is largely jokes, lies, misinformation, and of course tells you straight up, flat out, one of the commandments, very few commandments of Discordians, is you are not allowed to believe anything that you read. And indeed, the Principia goes to great lengths to tell you or to show you why that should be the case. So there are some obvious flaws and howlers in the Discordian calendar, which we will discuss presently. So we are here to see the passage of time, which is an entirely arbitrary thing. We invent that, as the famous quote goes: "Time is an illusion, lunchtime doubly so." So bureaucracy, that is what lies behind us. That was a season of bureaucracy. Now, it's not that good things can't come out of bureaucracy. I would say that organising a weekly service in order to allow Discordians a space to contemplate and consider their spiritual path is very much an act of bureaucracy. There were slides to put together. There is an order of service, a list of things that are going to happen in the service, a time when the service will happen, and so on and so forth. These are all bureaucratic, but are they not in the service of chaos? Well, they absolutely are. So it turns out, as we keep learning, as we keep repeating, order can very much be in the service of creating chaos, such as chaos can be in the business of creating order. And so we get the sacred cow, which shows us chaos, which has a little drop of order in it, and order, which has a little drop of chaos in it. So there we go, sacred cow, that's what it tells us. From order comes chaos, from chaos comes order. Yes, and from chaos comes bureaucracy, and from bureaucracy comes aftermath. And that is the fifth and final season of the Discordian year, which we shall dive into further during this seasonal thought. So this is more an aftermath vibe. I thought lots of pictures of ruined houses and the following moments of some massive war-bound explosion. I think in like all things, it's double-sided. When we come to Bureaucracy 2025, we've already discussed how good things can come out of Bureaucracy, as well as, well, bureaucracy, which isn't intrinsically good, I guess, or bad. But we are also going to discuss how Aftermath, as much as it can be about half-built houses, or houses that have been left sadly bereft following some natural disaster, or indeed, as I saw, shelled out buildings and all of this kind of stuff. That's how the human brain tends to go towards that interpretation of the word aftermath. But, this is the aftermath of what looks like a sort of sunny day with a few clouds. Yeah, like every day has an aftermath. Yeah, every hour has an aftermath. Yeah, I would say that the aftermath probably describes that time when you've finished the thing, whatever it is you're doing, but you haven't quite moved on to the next thing. And as such, it is a liminal space. And as everyone knows, liminal spaces are holy. They are spiritual. They are places of possibility and potential. So we in the Discordian mindset are very fortunate because we have 73 liminal days in the close of every year. And so we can view this as a time of, magical possibility, which is a bizarre thing when we come to consider what takes place during Aftermath, or which I shall move on to now. So there we go. I had to do 2 slideshows this week. They're not all going to be winners. So I'm just going to go through very quickly a slide that we had a few weeks back, comparing the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that the majority of people in the Western world adhere to, with the Discordian calendar, which almost nobody adheres to, and so we shall look at these things now. So the Gregorian calendar, as we know, has 12 months, of which we are in the 10th, which is named for the 8th month of the year. Discordian calendar has 5 months, which they do term them seasons. So to a certain extent, they don't really have months in the Discordian calendar at all. We have 5 seasons, but when I wrote this slide, I hadn't quite worked that out. The Gregorian calendar has an inconsistent length of month, such that we need mnemonic poems in order to remind us of which days have 30, 31. And then we forget the mnemonic poem, so we still get confused, although we do know that February is a pretty short month. Everybody's pretty much aware of that one. But every month season in the Discordian calendar has 73 days. Now, this is actually a marked change from the Gregorian calendar again, although the Gregorian calendar doesn't... It marks days on which there is an equinox, astrological, but I don't think they're officially part of the calendar. Where you say there's a solstice or an equinox, that's merely a meteorological note placed upon the calendar to say this meteorological, that's an almanac kind of operation. Yeah. So although most calendars, when they're produced, do take into account that almanac information and say this is the day on which we have equal day and equal night, this is the day in which we have the longest day, this is the night in which we have the longest night. Although we do that, that's not part of that's just on the calendar. That's not part of the calendar. Okay, so that's something to and as such, most people sort of, I mentally like to divide the traditional weather-based seasons into, August, September, October, that's autumn. November, December, January, that's winter. December, January, February, that's winter. March, April, May, that's spring. And the last 3 months are summer. Although most people, people call March 21st, or the equinox in March, the first day of spring. And then they call... but then the thing is that the summer solstice is colloquially known as midsummer. Although technically, if it's following the equinox pattern, it should be the first day of summer. And midwinter, and then the equinox. We're very inconsistent, probably due to the fact that these are meteorological events, astronomical events that have been marked on the calendar, and the astronomers and the meteorologists don't care. They do not care where you think. It's a broad kind of mushy. You have them. What they're saying is, if you haven't thought you're in summer by June the 21st ish, you're in summer. If you haven't thought you're in winter by December the 21st, you're in winter. And, if you haven't thought you're in autumn by the 21st of September, you're in autumn. And if you haven't thought that you're in spring by the 21st of March, you're in spring. So that is basically, it's like a basic guidepost. Oh yeah, this has definitely happened now. Whereas in the Discordian calendar, every season being 73 days, they are consistent. They roll over on the same days of every year. Weirdly, it is far more organised than the traditional seasons, and it has nothing to do with the weather. The Gregorian calendar has a smorgasbord of arbitrarily assigned holy days. As we know, most of the holy days in the Gregorian calendar, such as Easter, Christmas, things like that, they are chiefly PR exercises by certain religions trying to overwrite older, what they would consider pagan rituals. So it's a bit of a battleground. It's like everybody trying to plan their wedding on the same day. It's just a fight. Oh yeah, that's how we close the ceremony. I forgot to do a slide for it, but you're going to love it. We'll do it with the Kwanda ballet. We'll probably do it with the background. Anyway, you'll see. It'll be good. Trust me. And in the Discordian calendar, there is a consistent application of holy days. It's always the 5th and the 50th day of the season, which, if you do some thought about it, the 50th is not too bad. That's quite a long way from the changing of the season. But literally, if we were going to apply a 5th, and as well as which, all that you get is a name, and you don't really get any holiday law along with those holy days. A clue from the Principia that it's probably best to ignore them. Now, here's the key point that we've got, and we've made this before: 52 Fridays per year in the Gregorian calendar, which is a cornucopia of opportunities to celebrate your spiritual path and to connect with the goddess. The Discordian calendar has different days of the week detailed in it. Yet another clue that you probably should ignore it, as they have 5 days in a week, and none of them are called Friday. You be the judge. So that's right. Yes, and here's the extra point I added. Another thing is that if we were going to say, okay, let's make the holy day the 23rd of the season, then you get 12 of them. But if you just said the 23rd of the Discordians, well, if you said 23rd of the month was something special, but you get 5 23rds of the month every year in a Discordian season or calendar, and so again, it's not a good thing. So, what does it all mean? If we have 5 Discordian seasons, and then we're going to ignore the Discordian week, and we're going to ignore the Discordian holy days, and we're going to take into account that we are supposed to eat our sacramental hot dog on a Friday, yeah, and there are only Fridays in the Gregorian calendar, so the seasons maybe mean something else. So when are they? Chaos runs from January the 1st to March the 14th, which is the day before the Ides. I believe the Ides of March are the 15th of March. Do you know what? I'm going to go all the way and... Oh, what have I done? Oh, of course I'm in... Right, I need a new window. Here we go. Right, let's go. Ides of March. Of March is corresponding to 15th of March on the Gregorian. So, yeah, so basically, the season of chaos runs from January the 1st right up to the 15th of March. Coincidence? Coincidence that Julius Caesar was killed on the first day of Discord? I've made a mistake. That should be March 15th, obviously. As I said, 2 slideshows in a week is pressing it for me. So yeah, March 15th, the Ides of March, first day of Discord. Yeah, okay, so that's the second season. It runs until May the 26th. Then we have the season of confusion, which runs correctly, as I've put on the slide here, from May 27th to August the 7th. Yeah, so that takes us right the way through the middle of the year and into the latter part of the summer. Bureaucracy, which we've just had, runs from August the 8th to October the 19th. And as we know, because we're here right now, Aftermath runs from October 20th to December 31st, thus concluding the Discordian seasonal year. Okay, so you can expect bonus services on New Year's Day, March 15th, not 14th as it says there, May the 27th, August the 8th, and of course today, October the 20th. But why? Why? Well, one of the things that I noted, I don't know if I've got a slide for this. Right. Oh, yes. I was just going to say, days of the week. Yeah, okay, we've got them here. I put them on the slide. Yeah, they called them Sweet Morn, Boom Time, Pungent Day, Prickle Prickle, and Setting Orange, which is largely a joke about marijuana. And that's about it. None of them are called Friday, therefore they have to be nonsense. Goodbye. Have I got anything else in here? Oh, yes, of course. Leap years. St. Tibb's Day happens February the 29th. So any year in which there is a February 29th, that is an official extra day that falls outside of any of the seasons, and it is St. Tibb's Day. Who was St. Tib? What did he do? I don't know. I'll try and find out for you by the time there's another February 29th. But I think that for the time being, there was an unfortunate tendency. I suppose it's, to be fair, it's reflected in other holy books around the world. They name someone and then we don't know what that means. So there we go. But well done, St. Tib. You got a day, and your day is February the 29th. Okay, so the next thing that we will be doing is moving on to the face of the season, but I'm just going to discuss. So you might be asking yourself at this stage, what is the point? Why do this? Well, first of all, because if you're going to be a practicing Discordian, you might as well practice Discordianism, and this seems like a good way to do it. You see, this is one of the problems that comes out of generic Discordianism, is you declare yourself a Discordian, say you're a pope, and then a lot of people just, stuff post on internet groups, which would have been very difficult. I mean, in the past, Discordianism has had a lively person-to-person, interpersonal party culture, as it were, and this seems to have died out round about the same time as you could just stay home and post stuff on the internet. I mean, I live in the UK, which is notably bereft of many serious Discordians. There are a few notable names, although they're not very evangelical, shall we say. They say, this is what I do, aren't I wacky? And that's it. I am evangelical. If you're not a Discordian, you should be, because it's great fun. And far less guilt-ridden, far less focused on vague, unattainable goals like some kind of spiritual pyramid scheme, far less, full of itself than a lot of other spiritual paths. And it scratches the spiritual itch, which, when it is not spooky month, when the time comes, when the goddess says, this month talk about this, which is part of, as I discovered, the naming convention for the month, we will have a big chat all about that, you and I. And you will be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But yeah, it's the seasonal thing, because when I first saw the calendar, I was kind of excited, and then very quickly I discovered all the things that were just badly designed for the purposes of practicing Discordianism as described in the Principia, not least the reduction in the amount of Fridays from 52 to 0. I mean, that is definitely a wonky design. Arbitrary saints' days. I'll just pull the old book out here and just run you through. Mung Day, Mojo Day, Sayer Day, Zara Day, Maladay. Those are the 5th of the season. And Cowflux, Disco Flux, Confuflux, Bureauflux, and Afflux. Those are the 50th days of the season. What are they for? Doesn't say. Nobody cares. Bit pointless. So, 23. 23 is here. Gosh. Don't know when that actually came up, but we should take a minute for 23. A minute for 23. It is that time. The time has run out. I don't know if it ran out ages ago, actually. But this is obviously seasonal change, so I guess we're accepted from the usual paranoid. Well, I guess it's interesting. I have actually now discovered a use for 23, which I had not previously considered, which is that during the period leading up to 23, it is my job to keep it, and my job to keep an eye on. And if there's anyone out there in the comments, it is our job as a community, yeah, if we're doing the thing live, to keep an eye on. And when we reach 23, either I am supposed to leap forth and say, hey, it's 23, we got to do 23. But if I haven't noticed, then it is up to the community to push me in the right direction. It is a spiritual reminder to keep your eye on the ball. And if one of your fellows does not keep their eye on the ball, to kick them in the nuts and tell them to keep their eye on the ball. Is that an intrinsic purpose-built use for 23? Is that meant to happen? It is a mystery of the universe, but it is definitely something that can happen now. So that was 23 for today. So that seems as good a place as any to move on to the face of the season. And as you can see on this slide, it says it's Bureaucracy's face of the season, not Aftermath. And I deeply considered this, very deeply. I thought about it for many hours. We can't know. I mean, the season's 73 days. This takes us all the way up to the end of the year. Yeah. So I can't say, if I can say, a face of Eris this week, I saw Eris here this week. I mean, that is a past reflection, but just from the past week. So we have to look backwards. So what was Bureaucracy's face of the season? Kind of a bore, honestly. Yeah, it's Ubisoft. They were the face of Bureaucracy. And I guess this helps me explain part of the point here, that every season in Discordianism has a vibe. And the vibe of Bureaucracy is Bureaucracy, and nobody vibed out Bureaucracy in the Discordian fashion better than Ubisoft this season. Let me explain. It could have been Bethesda, of course. They, made the crime of releasing a terrible video game and then getting everyone marginally excited. I think everybody knew that they weren't meant to get properly excited about the DLC, and then releasing a terrible DLC and then doubling down on saying it was a great DLC and you were all idiots. But the point is that Ubisoft not only did almost exactly the same thing, nearly, but they also did so much more during the season of Bureaucracy. There's the whole Star Wars thing. This is their equivalent. It's not even a DLC. I mean, that's what's worse. Yeah, the DLC for the game that everybody hated in the first place was, in fact, not a big surprise. And, at least it only wasted quite a lot of money and 6 hours of your life. So, there we go. But then lots of people didn't really like the Star Wars game that they made, saying that it was a bit cut and paste, which I'm sure it was. And also, I think people would have forgiven it being quite cut and paste if it weren't for the fact that it was stupidly expensive, and still is stupidly expensive. I am streaming, son, for a minute, so I will be... Yes? I'm not doing work. Okay, so... The other thing, of course, is the fact that they were due to release a new Assassin's Creed game during the season of Bureaucracy, and then decided it was too rubbish to release right then, and so they pushed it back to next February. And so the stocks took a hit. Yeah, like they'd released a bad Star Wars game, or what was considered in the zeitgeist to be a bad Star Wars game. Many people have tried to point out it's not bad, it's just overpriced and it doesn't really do anything that you weren't expecting. And it's a bit buggy because everything that's released is a bit buggy. So, there's a patch to come. And it's weird that you have to pay the most price for the broken game. And then when it comes down in price, they've usually patched it. And so it's a much better experience. So then people get to do videos about how it's been saved. Yeah. But that hasn't happened yet, and so therefore can't be counted as part of the season of Bureaucracy. And then they were going to release an Assassin's Creed. It was supposed to, I think, already be out, or maybe it'll be out in a couple of weeks, but it's not now. It's out next February. They pulled it because they were like, we don't want it. And of course, when it comes around, if they do actually release it, I fully expect it will still be full of bugs. So there we go, never mind. And so all of this has been accompanied with a thick paste of corporate sincerity, which people have very quickly picked the subtext out of that. All of these activities, releasing mediocre work, overcharging for it, pushing back work that you claim was not ready, even though you gave it a deadline, and then obviously pushing it forward, and people predicting that it will still be underwhelming and possibly. Oh, there was also like some casual racism going on with that whole situation, which they've had to backpedal out of. The stock's taking a hit, and them having to desperately issue a bunch of statements about how everybody's just super cool over here and it's all going to be great. This is the very core of bureaucracy. I mean, I'm sure there's, like I said, the services that we're doing here, they're a good side. So maybe next year the face of bureaucracy will be something nicer. But yeah, bureaucracy is really, I mean, I suppose as we have, Halloween is the season of the witch. Bureaucracy is the Discordian season of Greyface. And nothing could be more grey-faced than Ubisoft trying to steal all of your money for broken software and filling the world with toxic positivity. It's how can it be else? So there we go. That was I forgot to mention 6 bullet points. 6. Yeah, they mandated that all their staff worldwide need to get back in that office, which is possibly the grey-face move of the year. Like everybody has to go back to the office all the time because we said so. Is the grey face energy is just wafting off that, and the French Ubisoft employees went no, as French employees are often wont to do. They went on strike and contributed further to the bad optics, occasioning even more corporate sincerity. So there we go. Ubisoft, you win ultimate grey face of bureaucracy, which, bearing in mind the fact that bureaucracy is a place for grey face to go nuts, is just mind-boggling. Okay, yes, it's the seasonal edition beta seasonal tarot. Okay, so here we go. This is what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to get our tarot cards, just the same as Reflective Tarot on a weekly basis. And we're going to give them a quick souffle. Give them a quick shuffle. Like this. Yes. There we go. And we cut the deck somewhere. And we take a card. We've got the 9 of Swords. That's not fun. But then, because it's seasonal... Oh, I have a text message, everybody. An urgent text message. Oh, right, okay, that's fine. I will discuss this later. I just... Right, okay, so... We then get this, which I hope is ordered in the correct order. It is. And this is the Before Tarot. And we get the 9 of Swords from the Before Tarot. Now, this is the bit that gets a bit messy because I have to now strew many tarot decks all over the room. And we get the other deck, which is the After Tarot, and we go down to the same card, and we put that there, and we find a place to put that tarot deck for later. Now I have to keep the After and Before in the right order because, as we see, where we start was with the regular tarot card, the 9 of Swords, which we're not going to talk about because that is the right now, and we're sort of in between 2 seasons. So we can see, which does actually, that is really weird. Yeah, so the Before Tarot, there it is. There's a nice source. If you're familiar with the sort of, I should probably use my actual Rider-Waite deck for this one rather than the cartoon tarot. But you have a bunch of swords. They're all dripping blood there. In the traditional 9 of Swords, the swords are slightly over to one side towards, they're more centered, and they don't have blood dripping off them. It's a kind of anxiety. And these cards are sort of before and then after. Oh, okay, so they make a sort of a little story. And what it says is, these swords fill your mind, and then you grab one off the wall and you hack a dragon that appeared out of nowhere with them, which is Nice, I guess. So we put that back with the afters. I know, with the befores, and that one back with the afters. So what it's saying is that in this season, what we're thinking about is an energy where we have been beset by troubles, and we're actually going to turn those troubles around, and then a dragon's going to appear and we kill them. I mean, I'm being rapid and highly metaphorical here, but I think we can all see where that energy is. So what it's saying is that Aftermath this year is to get ready and to watch out for suddenly appearing salamanders. It's a message. Okay, finally, Kwanda. Well, I guess to be fair, we're not going around, and I've already gone about the length that I was apportioning for this. So unless a Kwanda comes out right now, we shall move on to the end of this Aftermath commencing season service. And yeah, happy Aftermath, everybody. You can watch the aftermath of the Aftermath season as I put away all of the blinking tarot cards. It didn't go too badly, I think, the tarot card thing. I think that's a good positive message. The story of moving away from anxiety and towards hacking up imaginary salamanders. Yeah, it works for me. So that's nice. And there we are. We are in the Aftermath. For the next 73 days until the beginning of 2025. You'll only get one Aftermath 2024. Oh, crikey. And then I ruined my tarot deck. There we go. Trying to put everything away. Yeah, I'm just leaving this open in case anyone wants to sort of leap up and make a statement. My before tarot doesn't have its instructional book in it. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. So I need to put that away as well. So yeah, the idea is, and this is something I noticed, that each of the Discordian seasons has a vibe that corresponds worryingly close, or fortunately close to the actual vibe of the 73 days that it describes. Yeah, and that's weird. And I thought that should be capitalised on. That's why we're marking the change of the Discordian season. You know, Aftermath has all the cool holidays. Halloween. Here in Britain, we burn a guy in effigy because he tried to blow up the king. And in America, you eat a bunch of turkey, which kind of makes your Christmases a bit like, what do we do now? But there we go. Our Christmas, we eat the turkey then. See, it makes much more sense. And then it's New Year. And then we obviously go into the period of chaos. And similarly, you know, you shall, if you vibe in with it, you shall understand and ride the vibe of the Discordian seasons, which I guess is as good a place as any to call this shenanigans to a close. If you have joined me here for this seasonal service, thank you very much. And my socials be on the end card now. Hail Eris, all hail Discordia, happy Aftermath.
Thousands are mooning as we moon, and I hope that you'll join in and moon with us.